Hello, welcome to Planet Aurora with the Flying Rainbow Lasagna here. I would like to talk a little bit about the artwork that you see behind you. This is all painted by hand, none of it is computer generated, and all of it is done. I use my organic computer. I don't use a calculator. It has everything to do with visually putting together these aspects of the universal language, the pan-dimensional language of color, line, shape, form, and movement. This is no longer appropriate to be called geometry because geo is based on Earth, and this is much more about much more than just measuring the Earth. This has to do with an interdimensional language with people from this dimension and consciousnesses here in the place where you find yourself and are watching a YouTube, to the place where it is the purely abstract realm, the realm of pure energy. We're talking about thought, mentation, feelings, abstract energy as it moves, like the sense of electromagnetic energy as it moves. I want to tell you about the calibrations that I'm working with. So in these paintings that you see behind you, a 12-inch circle is always going to be red. That is because of the color recipe of white light. White light is made up of these 7 different hues. There's always going to be the longest wavelength of red. I did not invent this. This is like saying I'm teaching you some of the building blocks of this universal language. So the first thing is that there's a calibration, and the second thing is the way that it's calibrated. You've got red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. And basically, if red is going to be a 12-inch circle, orange will always be a half of that, a 6-inch circle. Yellow will always be 1/3, all the way down to violet, which will always be 1/7. This is beautiful, 1.7 inches of violet, and there will be 7 of these that may fit across one of these. Again, I did not invent that. That is a basic shape of energy in the universe. Same thing with this. This is the 4 vortex shape, and this is the shape of your chakras. This is created by taking a sphere, one of the basic shapes of the universe, and when you begin to move it around and around and around like this, it creates a donut shape. So in this painting behind me here, you can see these figures. This is a human figure right here, and it exists within this shape that is actually a donut shape, where the central column is the donut hole, and the area around here, around the physical human, would be considered the cake of the donut. And when you take 2 of these toroid donuts, so you have one that is like this, and then when we put one perpendicular, because what did I talk about in the last lesson? You add another dimension when you create something perpendicular to the first dimension. So I spoke about the second dimension, the flat plane that the little ant walks across, and then adding another dimension, which would be like this. That gives us a perpendicular angle, and all of a sudden we can fold that piece of paper over onto itself. Perpendicular. We're talking about taking one of these guys, a toroid donut that is rotating in this direction, and adding another one perpendicular in this direction. And that's what gives us this. So you can imagine that we have these 2 wheels, like here's a wheel. Chakra comes from the word wheel. It's a Sanskrit word. These wheels spinning almost like tires, that would be rolling this along here. But when we add this perpendicular apparatus, what we also get is the capacity to turn like this and like this. So I've been talking about your eye of time. This is your eye of time. You have one of these up here. It is your indigo chakra, your brow chakra, as I have said, associated with Christ consciousness. There is a non-physical being who lives in your body or intertwined with your body. Right up here, it is Christ consciousness. It is not necessarily associated with a religion. It is a personality or a sense of personhood or a sense of consciousness. So I try to remove all the religious connotations and keep this in an abstract energy sense. Do not be put off by the use of the word Christ. This is your library card of the universe, and it is your eye of time. This is what one directs in order to look down which particular timeline or road of time you are traveling upon. This has everything to do with your internal daily experience and moment-by-moment experience of thinking thoughts. So to the untrained mind, and humanity has many religions, many esoteric training systems and systems for meditation that are all about learning to control your mind. The first thing, learning to still one's mind, just not thinking any thoughts, and if thoughts arise, to let them go. It is like allowing a bell that has been rung, allowing those reverberations to lie down and go down so that then you can have moments of peace and then start something new. Thoughts are very much like songs, or very much like reverberations. It's not necessarily like a straight line, but because so much of perception is understood in a linear fashion, let's imagine, or use for technical shorthand in speaking of this, that we are moving down a timeline, like a road of time. Because remember, I was talking all about adding another dimension, and how when you add another dimension, you add another degree of freedom. And this is about changing one's perception of time, and as a result, no longer thinking of time as a linear event, but really seeing time as a cloud, or as a cloud of probabilities or possibilities, and which possibilities are being energized at that time. Well, I mean, I could jump now to the idea of multidimensionality and multiple selves. Before we begin to explore these multiple selves, I want to tell you about what puts you on a timeline. Literally your thoughts. Literally, the thoughts that you are thinking are what is generating your journey down this road of time. By learning to control your thoughts, you learn to control which timeline you are going to experience. I was saying before that the errant mind, the mind that is not trained and is not consciously controlled, is all over the place, and the mind is very associative. So, for example, you might be looking at a glass of water, and then all of a sudden your associative mind starts to think about water and think, oh, and blah blah happened 10 years ago that involved water, and I remember the person I was with at that time, and then I felt this, and then I felt this, and it made my feelings hurt. This is all about delving into the past. In order to control one's timeline, what timeline you want to be experiencing, it is essential to focus all of your energy on this moment now. All of these meditative practices that are all about be here now and focusing your attention, this is all about putting your energy into this moment. So you have peripheral selves. You have many, many possible selves. There are around Aurora a cloud of possible auroras, some of whom arrived 5 minutes later to the studio, some of whom never made it to the studio, some of whom were killed by a comet that fell on Aurora's house when she slept last night. So every single range of Aurora is here. Every single possibility and every single iteration of this video game of life is being explored. However, I, the consciousness of Aurora, inhabit only one moment. Just like your eye, the retina of your eye, has receptors, and it has a focal point, the fovea, where that is where most of your receptors are located. But all around the rest, there's still a periphery that catches some of the movement and some of the detail that is outside of that focal point. So too do you and your time body have a focal point and then peripheral selves. So when you are focusing on the past or allowing your mind to be errant all over, you are dissipating energy to those peripheral selves. By learning to control your mind and focus only on the thoughts that you wish to focus on, you get to travel on the road that you want, and in order to do that, you have to collect your gas, your energy, your gas for your car that is driving down the road of time. This energy is the energy that we all have access to that comes from the source, however, and it circulates down through all of the chakras, which act almost as water wheels or electrical transformers that take energy that is extremely of a high vibration and step it down, step it down, step it down, so that it can be accommodated in the physical realm. Because if you plugged directly into the high energy of the universe, the high frequency of the universe, without stepping it down little by little, the physical neurology would just be blown out. So it has to be filtered down through all of these various chakras. And then, of course, the body is a refinery, also taking experiences such as food and sensory stimulation from the physical realm and circulating it back up, because we are a refinery of energy. As you eat food and you refine it, you take that energy, caloric energy is expended, and it becomes infrared energy, and also it becomes mental energy as the glucose feeds your brain, and then it also becomes heart energy, the energy of unconditional love, and then you can communicate that energy through abstract thought to the divine. So you are sending back that information, you are sending back that love, you are forming a co-creatorship with the divine up above. That is such a beautiful place to end. I'm going to end this broadcast for right now. Tune in again to my home planet. More lessons for full spectrum humans from the Flying Rainbow Lasagna. It's a big topic and we keep delving in. So thank you very much. Good luck.